Good afternoon, and for those of you in a different time zone, good morning. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Spinelli from the E&I Cooperative Purchasing, and I'd like to welcome you to E&I's launch of the E&I Marketplace. We're coming to you live from the Kubo headquarters here in Washington, D.C., and I'd like to particularly thank John Walda, Bill Dillon, and the Nakubo team for allowing us to use their state-of-the-art distance learning studio. Joining me today is Dan Karazi, the Chief Executive Officer and founder of ESM Solutions, and my colleague, Gary Wilson, Vice President of Market Development, who has day-to-day managerial responsibility for E&I's e-procurement initiative. Before we get started today, I wanted to cover just a couple of brief items. The Nakubo team over the last day or so has been very diligent in trying to help Dan and Gary and I on the do's and the don'ts of webcast events. I must admit that I'm going to give you a little advance warning. I use my hands a lot, so if you see a Steve Spinelli hand popping up, I will apologize in advance for that, but I will try to stay still. The next thing I'd like to cover are three quick housekeeping notes. The first one has to do with the submission of questions. We would very much welcome and encourage you to submit questions. It'll be done electronically. I would ask you to look at the bottom of your screens and you'll see in red a Ask a Question section. If you'll click on that open panel, you can then type your question and submit it with the send button, which is adjacent to the panel. We will also have some polling questions to them, as a matter of fact, that will pop up along the way. And at the end of the event today, there will be a brief survey, and I will give a bit more information about that at that time. So let me tell you about what we're going to be covering today. Dan and I have purposely designed our presentations to be fast-moving. We will give you highlights of certain categories, but we will get into more depth, particularly regarding the new and innovative E&I Marketplace and the upgrade paths that are available. So we're going to focus on two things primarily. Number one, how e-procurement can help your institutions to lower cost, to become more efficient, to enhance productivity, and in these very tough economic times that we're all feeling the pangs of, to really generate a handsome return on investment. And secondly, we will articulate what makes this new E&I Marketplace so unique. Let me tell you a little bit about E&I Cooperative. I know that many of the folks that are on the call today on the webcast are very familiar with E&I, but I suspect there may be some who are not as intimately knowledgeable about who E&I is and what we do. So let me offer some highlights. First of all, we have been around a long time. As a matter of fact, we were founded in 1934 by three upstate New York colleges and universities, and we have been dedicated to the educational marketplace and particularly higher education for now nearly 78 years. Our membership is very diverse and varied. We are just a shade below 2,400 members on a national basis, comprised of 2-year, 4-year, public and private, community college, K through 12, teaching hospitals affiliated with many of our universities around the country, and other medical entities. Our purchases, I should say your purchases actually, are projected to be around $1.6 billion this year through the E&I extensive competitive portfolio, and I will talk a little bit more about that momentarily. You see at the bottom of the screen a bullet that says provides lower costs for education. And E&I accomplishes this in a number of ways, but for purposes of today's event, I really want to focus on three of them. The first one is portfolio solutions. E&I at its core is a member-owned, not-for-profit, cooperative purchasing organization. And what that means is that we use the power of aggregation by taking your collective spend and through a best practice competitive solicitation, competitive bidding process, we are able to develop and have developed an extensive portfolio of excellent products and services, generally able to drive deep discounts, sharp pricing, and other value-added solutions. A couple of examples, again citing the tough economy that we have all been facing since the latter part of 2008. Probably about 20% of our contracts at this time have financial incentives associated with them in the form of either member rebates, hard dollars that are pushed back from E&I to our members, either on a quarterly or annual basis. And the other one are financial growth incentives that are predicated on year-over-year growth. So in these tough times, we think that these are two of the very tangible ways that we are able to really help create revenue-generating opportunities for our membership. The next one I'd like to cover is another new and very exciting initiative from E&I called Consultative Solutions. And as the name would indicate, this is professional folks at E&I who deliver a full procure-to-pay solution to your institutions. And let me elaborate just a little bit so I can be a bit more specific. Our folks will come out to your location, meet with you and your colleagues, do an extensive interviewing process, surveying, really getting their arms around the way that you're conducting business today at your respective campuses or school locations, get a sense of where you'd like to go in the short, medium, and long term, and then they'll come back with a specific recommendation tailored for your institution. And this covers a multitude of areas, things like spend analytics, helping you to move from the more traditional type of procurement to a really strategic sourcing type of situation, using other metrics, reverse auctions to help lower costs, and a number of other things, including organizational enhancements, helping you select the right kind of people, developing even job descriptions for folks in your procurement world. So a little bit later on, if you would like to learn more about Consultative Solutions, there will be an opportunity through the surveying that I mentioned to be able to indicate that you'd like to speak to someone at E&I that's involved in that group of our organization. And then the third one, of course, is our e-procurement solutions, which we'll be covering in more detail as we move ahead right now. All right, I'd like to go into now a little bit about the path that we've been on that actually took us from concept to reality, the reality being the launch of the E&I Marketplace today. This initiative began approximately 18 months ago, and while there were a number of key events driving it, I would have to say that one of them was the economic meltdown that occurred at the latter part of 2008. So one of the very first things we did is that we launched a member survey, and it was earmarked to folks in the business, financial, and procurement levels at our member institutions. Can we go to the next slide, please? This was a very simplistic survey. We designed it that way, and I've extracted 3 of the questions that I think are very germane to the subject matter today. The first question, and I'm going to insert the answers verbally, was, do you have some form of e-procurement technology at your institution? If not, why not? Not surprisingly, the overwhelming answer from almost every respondent was that there are financial barriers that was prohibiting them from moving in an e-procurement direction. And more specifically, the financial barriers were broken down into a couple of areas. The first one was the very steep upfront implementation costs to install e-procurement solutions that are in place currently. And number 2 were the substantial annual licensing fees associated with the implementation. The second question was, do you have a short or long-term e-procurement strategy? In actuality, the answer to this question dovetails with the answer to question 1. And most respondents answered as follows, and I'm paraphrasing. They indicated since their institution was not currently in a position to invest in e-procurement, that they had elected to not develop a written strategy and plan for e-procurement because of the financial issues that were prevailing. And then the final question was, as you can see on the screen, was if someone were to develop a very affordable, low or no-cost solution, would you implement it? And the resounding answer here was an emphatic yes by nearly 100% of the respondents. Some other things we've done on the path to our launch today included forming a E&I e-procurement team. And that team was made up of individuals from every department at E&I, a true cross-functional team, including some folks in our contract organization who had come out of higher ed procurement, and those individuals had deep knowledge and involvement, expertise, if you will, with e-procurement. And they and the other members of our team played an instrumental role in developing the framework of the model that Dan Karazi and I will be announcing shortly. In January of this year, we launched an RFP. We received back 7 respondents, all from excellent companies who had a footprint in e-procurement. Our team invested a significant amount of time evaluating those responses, studying them, and lots of dialogue back and forth between the various team members. After a lot of deliberation, we narrowed the field and came up with a short list of 2 finalists, and then we went into an even deeper dive, if you will, relative to trying to select who we believed would be a partner that could deliver the best price, performance, and technology to our membership, and who would also be an excellent long-term partner for E&I to be working with. And then in October, just this past month, we made a competitive award to ESM Solutions. So, let me make a few comments. The invitation that you responded to made some rather bold statements. A, that this was a breakthrough, and that finally there was a solution that would be affordable for every institution from the largest to the smallest. I'm very pleased to say that wasn't just a bold statement written by the E&I marketing department, but it's actually reality. We believe that this is revolutionary, innovative, and will really be a game changer. So I'd like to quickly take you through the highlights of the E&I marketplace, and then Dan will get into more specifics and detail about the entire program shortly thereafter. So some of the real high-level highlights. The basic E&I marketplace, which, as you'll start to see the materials that have been developed to support the program, is actually called Easy Purchase E&I Marketplace, and it is absolutely free to our membership. Now, I realize that the word free sometimes, and perhaps oftentimes, conjures up a thinking by many of us, and I would put myself in that category, to believe that there may be some hidden fees or costs behind the curtain, so to speak, but I'm here to tell you folks that that is not the case. The E&I marketplace is free on 2 levels. The technology that's being powered by ESM is not software, there's no installation, it is internet-based, very easy to install, very user-friendly, and quickly implementable. And the 20 preloaded contracts that have gone through a competitive process with E&I are also being made at no charge, gratis, to our membership. The basic marketplace, the E&I marketplace, is designed for workflow and has approvals, so you'll have an opportunity to work with the ESM organization to set up those approvals in a manner that you are most comfortable with. And the Easy Purchase E&I marketplace supports purchase order and P-card purchases. And I mentioned before that the team that we had assembled, we spent a significant amount of time developing the rules of engagement. In other words, what is the optimum model that we felt was needed and that we wanted to launch for the educational marketplace. So this model, besides the E&I marketplace, the one I've just described, is a feature-rich, robust model that has 4 additional upgrade paths, and I underscore the word at a very affordable rate, and Dan will give you more specifics about that shortly. So let's go to our first polling question, Gary, if you don't mind. Okay, the polling question is, where is your institution with respect to e-procurement? You'll notice there's 5 radio buttons there, and we would ask that you would just take a few seconds to check off the one or more that apply. If none of them apply, please check that one off, and we'll give you a few seconds to submit your responses, and then we will actually post what the participants on the event had to say to this particular question. So go ahead and take a few seconds now. Thank you. Okay, well, that took a little bit more than a few seconds, but we really appreciate your response. Let's see what we had to say. We are just starting to gather information, secured 40% of your responses. We've spoken with an e-procurement service provider, looks like 14.4. We'd like to implement, but funding is an obstacle. 18.4%, that ties back to the survey information that we had shared with you earlier. And the final one is we have an e-procurement program, but are looking for an alternative that was a shade below 5%, and about 22.5% said none of the above. So thank you very much. Really appreciate your help with this polling question. Okay, at this time, it's my pleasure to pass the baton to Dan Karazi. Dan, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Steve. It's exciting to be here today at the NACUBO headquarters, and we really look forward to rolling out the new E&I marketplace solution. Before I begin, and I spend a little bit of time on who ESM Solutions is, I would just like to say that I've spent the last 12 years or so traversing across the United States, talking to colleges and universities. And one of the things that has stuck out for me as we've spoken to those colleges and universities is that everyone really wants to consider an e-procurement solution, but for either cost or resource reasons, they've been unable to do so. So we're incredibly excited. I'm excited to be here to announce this one-of-a-kind breakthrough solution that is a no-cost solution to allow members to get into the e-procurement world. A little bit about who ESM Solutions is. We have been in the e-procurement business or purchasing procurement automation business for the past 12 years. We have built a suite of solutions that allows you to automate different portions of purchasing. So, for example, we have solutions that automate from rec to payment, requisitions to payment. We have warehouse and inventory solutions. We have sourcing solutions that automate the bidding, quoting, and RFP and RFI process, and basically anything that has to do with purchasing inside of a college or university. Over the course of that 12 years, we've encountered a paradigm shift. When we started out back in 1998, many of the people who are out there today would have been operating in a paper-based world. Requisitions, approvals, purchase order creation would have been very paper-based. As time has moved on, that has become quasi-automated and has become totally automated in some cases. As we hit 2010, that has changed. People are now using commerce websites to interact with their vendors, and they're becoming more smart on how they do procurement. So we take those steps and we electronically automate them through all steps of the process. You might know us as Mercury Commerce or as eSchool Mall. When we're out there and we're about, some people might say, well, who is ESM Solutions? Mercury Commerce is our brand for higher education, so specifically for colleges, universities, community colleges, and the state and local marketplace. We've been serving that for over 7 years. We started in that space as part of a partnership with Datatel, which is one of the larger ERP providers in higher ed. Our initial beginnings really began in K-12, and some of you who are out there today who might be K-12 entities would know us as eSchool Mall. We started in 1998 serving school districts throughout the United States. We have some of the largest school districts, 5 of the top 20 in the United States, who are using our procurement solutions to automate all steps of their processes. So they are our two brands that envelope up to ESM Solutions. We have approximately 400 plus customers, so one of the things that you don't have to be concerned about is this bleeding edge technology. We've been doing this with many customers for many years. That encompasses approximately 34 states. That also includes roughly 4,000 buying and bidding entities, so not only colleges and universities and school districts, but cooperatives and educational service agencies. Today, that equals approximately $1.2 billion worth of commerce that is moving through our systems on an annual basis. So what is it that ESM Solutions provides? ESM Solutions provides automated solutions that streamline the processes. Earlier, I had mentioned that many of the processes that when we had started were paper-based. Today, they are now quasi-automated or fully automated. Requisitions might have been in a 3-part carbonless form. Approvals might have gone through inter-office mail. Purchase orders might have also been cut on those 3-part forms. Orders would have been sent typically Pony Express, and they would have been sent with a stamp and an envelope out to the vendor. That has changed, and we streamline those processes electronically. So take every one of those steps, whether it's a requisition, whether it's an approval or a PO creation, or whether it's a submission, we do that all electronically via the web. We will automate your business processes. As you sit, neighboring colleges or colleges and universities that are across state lines can have very different processes. We will come in, we will understand how you complete those processes, and we will map them to a procurement solution. We will also meet state and federal regulations. Many of the states today need to audit against these type of solutions, and they're doing that with our solutions today. So we will automate those business processes to your needs and to your liking. We can control Maverick spend. As part of the relationship with E&I, I think this is a real important hot button. Today, you can have excellent negotiated contracts through E&I that could offer significant discounts off of what you could go out and negotiate today. but how are you assured that those contracts are really being bought against? When you put a solution in place like the marketplace solution that we're going to be offering to you, or an enterprise solution, you can be assured that your people are buying on contract. If I go to a retail store, or if I'm off procuring something from a catalog, how do I know that I'm really buying on contract even though I have a contract? So we will put all of these contracts inside of the marketplace so that all of your end users will be buying off of those solutions. We also offer paperless execution of the sourcing process. In our terms or your terms, that might be the bidding process, the quoting process, or the RFP and RFI process. Traditionally, those processes have been as paper-based as anything that is out there. When we go from college to college, we see many colleges today that are still doing a traditional sealed envelope that might go out to the vendors. The vendors might go to a website and actually see the bid. They might respond to the bid and send it backwards via FedEx. There might be a traditional bid opening or a quote opening in a boardroom, and then there might be a multi-week process for the award. We can take many of those same processes, whether it's a bid, whether it's a quote, whether it's an RFP or an RFI, and we can automate all steps of those. Because when you look at purchasing, that is a significant portion of the entire solution. We are, as Steve said earlier, we're a SaaS solution, a software as a service. So what does that mean to you as the college or the university? Well, we're a web-based solution, so you don't have to install any software. You don't have to configure any hardware. All you need is access to a web browser, and you can be up and running in a matter of hours or days. We don't track our installs based on months or years. We believe that to get a real return on investment, you need to be able to put a solution of this manner up very, very quickly. So we're a web-based solution. Additionally, we have now moved into another paradigm. We talked about earlier how things have moved through time. The whole world has moved to mobile technology and tablet technology. Whether you're using an Apple iPhone or an iPad or a Windows device, or as I read in the paper today, the kind of wars that are going on between the Nook and the Amazon Fire. We've built our technology so that you can do mobile procurement and finger-friendly iPad approvals and other resources that are oriented around the procurement processes. So we're very mobile-friendly. So let's talk a little bit more about the E&I marketplace and what we're going to be offering, as Steve had reiterated earlier. This solution is at no cost, and as Steve had said, people get nervous when they hear no cost or they hear free. Is there value associated with it? We spent a number of months putting this solution together with E&I, so there was great value for the customers and for the members that are out there today. This solution is going to allow for, as we said earlier, 20 E&I contracts. Those contracts can be punch-outs to vendor websites, or they can be hosted catalogs. It will allow for robust search that is Google-esque in nature. It will allow for the creation of the requisition and the cart. It will allow for one level of approval. It will allow for submission of the order electronically to the vendor, and the capability of the end user to use P-cards if they desire. So that's the basic marketplace. Again, tremendous amount of value for not having to put any initial dollars into the solution. So what does that mean to you? What that means is really basically a lower cost for education for those of you who use E&I contracts and for those of you who are going to use our solutions. By not having to expend significant dollars to get into e-procurement, you can see an immediate return on your investment. The management of these contracts should be rather easy. You're able to choose the contracts that you want, be it punch-outs or hosted catalogs. You should be able to change and add those contracts as quickly as you need throughout the process. We've created new designs and new solutions for our products so that they're very consumer friendly. Everywhere we go, Customers will often say, can you have an Amazon look and feel? Can you be simple as the basic commerce marketplaces that are out there? You will find with this marketplace solution that it is very easy to use. As we go through the path, there will be upgrade options. We will start with the basic marketplace, and then there will be the Marketplace Plus, the enterprise solution, integration and interface options, and the ability to choose sourcing solutions. So let's talk a little bit about what each of those are. We had mentioned the marketplace, which includes those 20 E&I contracts. Again, the search, cart capability, ability to have one level of approval, the submission to the vendors, and the ability to use a P-card if necessary. So that's the basic marketplace. Feel free to immediately call us after this and start the process. The next upgrade path is for what we call the Marketplace Plus. We realize from talking to a lot of you out there today that you're going to have the need for your own contracts and your own vendors that you want to work with. So beyond the initial 20 E&I vendors that are available, in the Marketplace Plus, you can add your own contracts, your own punch-outs, and other different vendors that you would want to include. The next upgrade path from there is when your institution has maybe a more complex procurement process that you want to roll out. This is called Easy Purchase Enterprise. What does Easy Purchase Enterprise give you? Easy Purchase Enterprise is going to give you not only E&I contracts and potentially your own contracts and punch-outs, but we can include the rest of your vendors from your ERP, so you can create a requisition from any vendor that is out there. You're going to get, again, that search capability, but once you move farther down the path, you're going to get other capabilities. So you're going to get advanced workflow. That workflow may be dollar-based or commodity-based. It may be linear in fashion, but we can accommodate all of that. It will give you purchase order creation capability. It will give you PO submission capability. Those capabilities might be as simple as email to a vendor or XML right into a vendor's order entry system. It will also give you electronic receiving and electronic invoicing, which is part of the three-way match and is critical to the entire procurement processes. Additionally, for those of you who are large enough out there and use an inventory or warehouse management solution, you'll get the warehouse module. And if you want to have the ability to create and move and route forms electronically, you can do that as well. So this is the entire enterprise solution. The next migration path is Easy Purchase Interface. Over the course of the last 12 years or so, we have heard from our customers as to how important it was to integrate into your ERP or general ledger. To date, we've integrated to approximately 40 ERPs. Two of the larger ones are obviously SunGard Higher Education and DataTel. We've been integrated to them for years. We've also integrated to such large packages as Oracle, PeopleSoft, and SAP, Tyler Technology, and many others. What does that integration mean to you? Through a seamless web services interface, we have the capability at the requisition level to do a pre-encumbrance where you do a budget check, and account code validation. As you move through the approval processes, you can also do pre-encumbrance checks. When you go to create a purchase order, working with a system like this, you have then the ability to do an actual encumbrance and liquidation and pull the actual purchase order number from the ERP package. And then there are various other touch points with receiving and invoicing. So as part of the interface solution, we will be working in conjunction with your ERP, and you won't be doing double entry. The last upgrade path is what we had mentioned earlier, which has to do with our sourcing solutions. Again, this would be Easy Bid Line Item, which allows you to do unlimited line items in a sealed bid approach with a sealed lockbox. Easy Bid Discount for those of you who have the need to do a category or catalog discount bid with a percentage off of the list price. Easy Quote to allow you to have 3, 5, 7, 10 quotes from as many vendors as you want. and easy project for RFPs and RFI. So this will automate all steps of the sourcing process. We will then wrap all of these upgrade paths again with our mobile technology, if you so desire and your folks are using mobile and pad-friendly environments out there. And we will also wrap this with our services. Although, as we had said earlier, this is a very simple solution to roll out, we don't expect for all of you that we would just throw this out in the web and say go. If you want training, via that web training or in person, if you want the ability to work with us to onboard your vendors, we can do that. So we have a team of professional services members who will support the install to this process. So that's the upgrade path. One last comment before we move to questions in the poll would have to do with pricing. I just wanted to address that. We offer an annual subscription, and as Steve had said earlier, although the marketplace is free, our other solutions do have a cost, but they're very nominal. Typically, our subscriptions will be in the low 10,000 ranges, up to the $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000 range. Unlike a lot of different procurement solutions that are out there today, there are some that are out there that could cost you $250,000 to $500,000. We realize that that is a barrier to entry in today's environment. So we're offering low-cost subscription solutions, and as we're out there, we'll be happy to share what those costs are for you. So let's move on to the next polling question. So the next polling question is, what is the estimated percentage of off-contract spend at your institution? If you'd spend a minute or two and please answer that, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for participating in that poll question. As you can see, it looks like the 20 to 40% is slightly below 34%, and in second was 40 to 60%. So again, thank you for participating. Steve, you want to go to the questions now?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gary. Okay, just looking at my watch, we want to honor our time commitment. Our goal today was to actually deliver this event, including the questions and a brief survey that's coming up, within 50 to 55 minutes. So fortunately, we're right on track. And Gary Wilson has, in fact, been compiling your questions. Really appreciate you inputting those. Dan and I are going to endeavor to answer as many questions as possible in the available time. Any questions that we cannot get to today we will respond back to those particular individuals via email, and we'll do that on a very timely basis. So, with that, Gary, fire away.
All right, Steve. We have a number of questions to respond to. The first one is, how long does it take to get the free marketplace up and running? And what's the process down the road for integrating the marketplace with my ERP? Dan, you want to respond to that?
To get the marketplace up and running, it's a very simple process. As Steve had said earlier, we're not installing software or configuring hardware, so we're measuring the ability to get the marketplace up and running in a matter of hours or days, depending on how many vendors you want to include in the marketplace, how many end users you're going to configure in the system, and the different things that you are personally trying to achieve at your college or university. So again, this should be measured in a very short period of time. As far as integrating to the ERP, you really need the enterprise solution to be able to effectively integrate to that general ledger product. We'll work with you to develop the strategy and approach that you need. Typically, an install for an integration to the web services interface is done over the course of a couple of days, Gary.
Thank you. Next question is, what contract groups are available with the free marketplace? Steve?
Thank you, Gary. Quick comment before I address that question. You know, E&I, we do an annual member satisfaction survey, and one of the questions on that survey that we ask each year is, what are the 10 most important attributes that you're looking for from E&I? And interestingly, over the last 3 to 5 years, the number one attribute that our membership has highlighted is that E&I be aligned with high-quality, top-flight business partners and suppliers. So I think as you get an opportunity to look at, and many of you have already been using a number of our contracts, you will normally find that our business partners are really like a who's who of the business community. Excellent companies, high integrity, national capabilities, and really firms that really have great prowess in serving and a commitment in serving the higher education and educational market in totality. Some of the contracts that will be part of the initial 20 that are free and enabled by E&I are the ones that I guess I would call more the turnkey type of products, the SKU-based or point-and-click type of product lines. So some illustrations would be Hewlett-Packard for their complete computer line, GovConnection, who is a PC connection company for computer peripherals, W.W. Grainger for MRO, maintenance, repair, and operation products, OfficeMax for office supplies and equipment, VWR in the scientific world for scientific supplies, and Xerox in digital imaging. I think Gary would be a good representation of those point-and-click type of product offerings.
Thank you, Steve. Next question, are vendor invoices electronically transmitted? Dan?
There is the capability, Gary, to electronically submit invoices into our procurement application. Over the course of the last couple of years, the invoicing piece has lagged a little bit with the vendors, but many of the major vendors today are doing that. Typically, that invoice will be submitted via CXML, some technology that allows us to ingest that invoice, and then we then have the capability, depending on the ERP that you use, to move that invoice information up to the general ledger as part of the three-way match. So that capability is there.
Thank you. Can we enable other consortiums?
I'll take that one, Gary.
Okay.
Inside of the solution, the basic marketplace solution, we are working specifically with E&I and the contracts that they bring to the table. Specifically, if you have the need when you license the enterprise solution to add different contracts that come from different areas, you can do that, but that is when you would migrate and use the or pay for the actual solution with the enterprise module.
How many contracts can you add to the Marketplace Plus?
The number of contracts that you can add to the Marketplace Plus is really unlimited. There is a fee associated with it, although it is nominal because there is work for us to add those contracts and those vendors. What I would tell you is that there is a diminishing law of returns. Even some of our largest customers, we don't see hundreds and hundreds of punch-outs or catalogs. We see really a finite number so that you don't overwhelm your community with too many vendors that are in there. So we don't restrict it, but past history has told us that it won't move into the hundreds of catalogs.
Thank you. Will you be listing the 20 existing contracts that are included in the basic package? Steve?
Absolutely. Our marketing department back in our New York headquarters is working to get our website populated. That will be up and live in the very short term. There will be other PDF and other types of hard copy materials, and there will be ongoing communications coming out of New York to our membership, really articulating the entire program from A to Z, including the 20 contracts that are enabled under the basic E&I marketplace.
Thank you. Next question is, how will the e-procurement solutions interact with Datatel's electronic requisition and purchasing functions? Dan?
The integration with Datatel or really any large ERP package is seamless. So as I had mentioned earlier, without getting overly technical, we use a web services interface, and as you would start in that ERP package, you would create an electronic requisition. Information or data elements are moved over to the ERP package, and that's where the first touch point would occur, which is called a pre-encumbrance. And those touch points move back and forth through the approval process and through the purchase order process and other areas inside of the solution. So we will pass that information back inside of Datatel's product, which is called Colleague.
Good, thank you. Next question, are you working with Koali? Dan?
We are working with Koali. As you know, Koali is an open source solution. So the caveat there would be that as each of you who are out there are using Koali, you're using it slightly different. So to make sure that we're able to meet your needs, each of the efforts on a Koali basis would be done with a statement of work so that we are meeting your individual requirements. In addition to Koali, we can work with any package that is out there today.
Good, thank you. Next question, please explain the one approval process. Dan?
Currently in the marketplace solution, we allow for one level of approval. So whether that go from, let's say, a requisitioner happens to be a professor or someone who's out there who might be procuring MRI supplies, a janitor, they have the ability to move that electronically to one approver in the process. Once they move it to that one approver, from there it has to move to the next stage of the process, which would be ultimately submitting it to the actual vendor. If you need to have more levels of approval or more complex, meaning commodity-based or dollar-based approvals, you would then move into the enterprise solution. So one level literally means one level of approval.
Good, thank you very much. Is there a minimum dollar spend linked to the participation?
There is no minimum dollar spend. The question that we often get is, what is my return on investment going to be? And that is going to vary based on how much spend and how much you're going to utilize the system. So there's no minimum threshold. What we would tell you is that the more that you put through the solution, the greater your savings are going to be, the quicker your return on investment is going to be, and the more value there is going to be for the institution.
Looks like we have time for just one more question. What is the basis for pricing on the additional options? Dan?
The basis for pricing on the additional options is, again, it's subscription-based. and it's based on the size of your institution. So we base our tiers on actual enrollment inside of the institutions. Each one of the modules, whether it was Easy Purchase Enterprise or one of the sourcing modules, is priced out separately. So you don't have to buy everything. You can buy them as individual subscriptions, and that varies based on your size of your institution.
Thank you. And actually, the last question is, how do I get more information about moving forward? Steve?
Okay, thank you, Gary. There's actually 4 specific ways that I would recommend. The first one, if we could just advance that slide, please. Okay, the first way, and I believe at this moment the most preferable, would be to contact us at this special mailbox that we've set up, marketplace@eni.org, and Gary Wilson and members of his E-team will contact you post-haste. A second way would be to contact Gary Wilson directly by telephone at 623-266-2445, or reach out to the E&I member hotline, which is based at our New York headquarters at 877-693-2634. The fourth way currently will be through the survey, which we're going to launch in just a moment or two. There will be a section, one of the areas that you can fill out is that you would like either more information or to be contacted by someone at E&I to discuss the E&I marketplace more specifically. So, before we launch the survey, I really, on behalf of ESM and E&I, we really want to thank you for your participation today. I personally, from an E&I perspective, want to thank you for your ongoing support and your valued patronage. It is very much appreciated by all of us at E&I. And I'd really like to extend our personal best wishes to all of you for really a blessed and happy Thanksgiving. So what we're going to do now is we're going to launch the survey. There are 6 very short questions, and I think you'll find that you can fill that out in probably a minute or even less, and that would be very much appreciated and valuable feedback that we would really welcome. So thank you very much. It's been great being with you. Have a wonderful day.